Well, hello there. Thanks for all the comments on the other one. There's been some really interesting stuff on there. I'm still trying to go through it. There's so much, so it takes a long time to actually go through those things. So I'm so glad you guys are patient and support me with that. It's really cool. And support each other as you go, as you're commenting and other people comment back and forth. I love that. It's awesome. Okay, we're going to pick up here on Got Kittens saying, "Dear God." That was so funny. Nuttier than poop of a dyspeptic squirrel. That doesn't sound good. I'm sure medical examiner, toxicology, independent blood splatter experts would have picked up on the indicators if anyone had OD'd or died prior to being stabbed. Maybe, depending on who, here's the whole thing. This is all depending on that it was on the up and up. Because the way they went in and did all this, there was nothing on the up and up. There was nothing normal about this case from the get-go. Not a thing. The way they went in, the way they did everything, all the students knowing, nothing was normal. So yet the medical examiner, when asked about toxicology, seemed to downplay its need or relevance, which is so true. Why does she do that? Because in my opinion, I don't think she does anything there. I think she is, like the mascot, like the spokesperson, like the one that just shows up and puts her picture on there. I don't think she has a say in pretty much in anything, in my opinion. She'll maybe sign the papers and all that, but she doesn't have a say in anything. You could tell by the way that she was talking. She almost looked scared, I would certainly have hope it was done well. It would also be interesting to read the autopsy report, but isn't available. Yep. I think even if toxicology came back with drugs in their systems, the stab-like, tear-like wounds were so deep and horrific that the drugs are irrelevant. No, they are not irrelevant. Not one little bit. How can people think that would be irrelevant? Irrelevant. Not at all. For them not to do that is sketchy on its own. It's sketchy on its own, seriously. Just because they were, hurt beyond, recognition or whatever from what Steve said in one of them or whatever. It's always one thing then another. It's like you never know which. This thing's been up and down and over and under, and it's just who knows what's going on. But that even though that's what was claimed, there is still reason to have something like that done. It's just for, time of death, like stomach, what was in the stomach, analyzing that, how long it was there, there's so many things involved in this, and I don't think they did anything. No one is covering anything up. They are simply keeping their cards close to their chest until trial. Same as with the rest. As far as undercover accidentally overdosing kids, agree with other poster. May a movie script, but not in this murder investigation. So close to the vest that they won't even give it to the defense. Good one. Dear crazy person who made this crazy thread and is putting these crazy theory out there. Since you believe Ellie is on this and planted BK's DNA on the knife and then placed it at the scene, why didn't they put DNA in his car or his apartment, on his clothes or his shoes, or all over at the crime scene itself, including the victims? Why just in one tiny spot on the sheath of a knife? Why would they do such a shitty job of trying to frame someone? Are you capable of asking yourself any of these basic questions? How about some additional ones? Is it the same LE person who manipulated all of the phone data? Or is it literally everyone in LE in on this together? If not, how come no one else in LE noticed any of the frame job taking place? How did they steal BK's phone without him knowing? Why didn't BK report his phone stolen? According to you, BK's car was stolen by LE to frame him. What? When? I don't understand that part. When was it stolen? BK's car was stolen by Ellie to frame him. Who said that? Why didn't BK report his car stolen? Because I never heard that. Did you guys hear that? That makes no sense. Why didn't BK report his car stolen? Why didn't Ellie load up BK's car with evidence, DNA, blood, while they had stolen it? When did this? I don't even know when that happened. What made them target BK as a patsy? Why does BK have no alibi? Why did BK not cooperate with police interview and instead shut the whole thing down? Why was BK wearing gloves and separating his trash into Ziploc baggies at 4 a.m. and then dumping it into the neighbor's trash instead of his own? There's tons more, but you don't understand any of it, do you? Who is this? Let's see what this person is. Lantern. Gotcha. There's no reason to call me a crazy person. If you reread my post, I come right out and say it is far-fetched and that it was an attempt to try to come up with an explanation for things that have been unexplained in my opinion. There was no good cause for a law enforcement or the prosecution to be hiding anything that I can think of. Can you? The only possible reason is that they screwed something up and are trying to cover up some mistake. But there are only so many scenarios that could entail, and one of them is a far-fetched theory I presented. So before you call me names, take into account my intent in rereading the post. My personal opinion is that either the ex-BF or the roommates were involved in this. I also believe BK was the DoorDash driver, and that is his connection to the whole thing. That is just an opinion, nothing more. But I am not the only one who has questioned the actions of law enforcement and the prosecution. I am merely trying to figure out why. Good for you. I agree with you 100%, but you must be messed up a little bit in the head or think you better than most everyone to title your reply Dear Crazy Person, or maybe you're just a DICK. Either way, I was totally uncalled for, even more so undeserving. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, got that one. Deleted. Is it still there? To entertain your theory, we have an elaborate stabbing and a manhunt and draw more attention. Why wouldn't it be easier to say it was an OD and pin that OD on some low-life local dealer? 0 questions asked, nothing to see here, just a crazy college kid party death. Maybe even say it's unknown where the drugs came from. Parents would be upset wondering where drugs came from, but I highly doubt they'd launch an investigation to find the drug origin that leads to the mysterious law enforcement informant or undercover dealer officials or officers. If they needed to stage it, there are much easier ways. Another sorority booze fest gone wrong, or faulty electricity in a jigsaw puzzle house, or myocarditis. I'm getting worse and worse at trying to figure out words. I swear to God. Hopefully I'm not getting what my grandma had. Knock on wood. Oh, knock, 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 knock. Wait. There's some wood. Oh, my cat always hates it. No, honey, no one's here. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. She does not like knocks on doors. It's so weird. Sorry, you guys. I have a wheeze in my throat today, and it's driving me a little bit crazy. So I might just stop this for right now, and I'll just pick it up in a little bit and see if I can get this wheezing out of me, because it's driving me nuts. And I know you guys probably don't like hearing it out of me. You don't like me yawning. You don't like me whatever. So this is probably driving you really crazy. So I'll be back when I feel better. Okay, ready, I'm back. Let's try this again. If they needed to stage it, there are much easier ways. Another sorority booze fest gone wrong, or faulty electricity in a jigsaw puzzle house, or myocarditis from cough, COVID, even a murder-suicide, pinning it sadly on the only male in the house, or murder unaliving but by a jealous roommate love triangle. Questions. Who ordered DoorDash? Was that Xana? Was that Xana then an OD or part of the cover-up? Here's one thing I've always wondered, is who took that picture of all of them together? Because that's an unusual, you see pictures of all of them all over the place, right? But you don't see all of them all together like that. Never. I don't think there's another picture like that. So who took that picture? And why? Or is that picture put together from separate pictures? Kind of seems like it is to me. And I think Watching the Watchers first brought that up too. And I had thought that from the get-go. So when she brought it up, I was thankful she did. Elaborate on how BCK fits into the cover-up, please, including all his previous pings, visual snow post about lacking empathy, and his criminal Reddit questionnaire that was large last month of his final semester, and too late to be a part of his master's thesis. Timing of high tag charges. I don't know if that high, and his issue with professors. I need to clean my glasses, I think. Coincidences? I mean, there's so much here, right? Just all of this. So this stuff came out when he got, was arrested. So these are things that maybe he didn't even do. They could have been fake, just like that other channel, that other, that Instagram or whatever it was fake. These could be fake too. I mean, the only people that came forward were people saying negative things, and when people wanted to say something positive, that the media didn't want to touch it. What's up with that? That is sick. Actually, it's just our society, man. It's just nuts. It's sick. We gotta tilt this planet the other way, man. We gotta all step over to the other side, the good side, and tilt it back the other way. But make sure you get back fast enough so it doesn't tip all the way over. You know what I mean? We don't want to do that. Although we might flip all the bad ones off. That might be that's interesting. I wonder if that's possible. I've always thought that, like, if your elevator was falling, from 13 stories up, and then all of a sudden the door opened at like floor number 1, and you just kind of stepped out onto the ground, would you be safe? I've always had that picture in my brain. So this Earth thing is flipping them over, and then all the good guys on one, bad guys on the other, flip it and just get back just in time if the other ones fly up to over top of your head, and they're gone, and then you just step back over, and it's all good. It makes sense to me. Okay. Who did the stabbings for the cover-up? This was vague in your theory. Did law enforcement in the cleanup process, or the roommates when delaying the call? Are the roommates and law enforcement in on it together? If the roommates, how did they move the bodies to their respective rooms? Or were these simultaneous ODs right before bed, or simultaneous ODs in their sleep? Good questions. Let's see. I brought up and thought of the OD angle because there have been people saying that it was initially showing up on social media prior to the 911 call that it was an OD. Now, this person right here writes where I can read it. Those other ones I'm having issues with, you know how people will word things and it doesn't make sense? Well, there's a lot of that going on in here. This person, thank goodness, does. Okay, so in social media prior to the 911 call, and that it was an OD, and that people supposedly weren't surprised because they knew of drug usage at the house. And so here again, we can take, how can we be sure that Dave is on the up and up? I know Lana went and got him, allegedly vetted him, but how do we know he is not, paid to do this, not a paid actor, not a paid by Ellie, paid by someone? How do we know that? We don't even know who the guy is. His fake name is Dave. In my opinion, I think it's Saeed, but, and I don't trust that guy. I mean, shit, there was a Venmo at 213. He was getting it, or giving it, I think he was getting it from Dave Barichota at 213. And all it had on it in the message thing was a small G, and we all know what that means. I mean, maybe we all don't know, but most of us, I think, probably know. So, how do we know? Yeah, there was a rumor, I think, then it was changed to a stabbing. And why the initial rumor of an OD? Because that was a rumor, I think, puts it on the table. Personally, I think that this was a personal crime and that it happened between 3 and 4, like the police initially stated. Don't know who committed it. I can only speculate. Yep. Maybe it was known as a party house. I meant, why did the law enforcement not go with OD as the first story? That would be an easy open and shut accidental death case. See what I mean by, yeah. If you're reading this along with me, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I'm trying to read this. Initial rumors will always happen on college campuses. They probably assumed OD because it has happened on their campus. Whose mind races to random intruder quadruple homicide? We don't even know if the Wazoo mom rumors can be trusted. College kids searching for answers fill in the blanks and get it wrong at times. It took a game of telephone across multiple sororities and athletes on 2 campuses to get this rumor to Wazoo mom. Didn't take that much, I'm sure. She's into everything, I'm sure, yeah. A cover-up would have happened, but this is elaborate to say the least. Well, it is elaborate, I will say that. Because it would bring unwanted attention to a drug operation. Silly goose. I put that part in. If the killing had anything at all to do with drugs, this was probably just the tip of the iceberg. I agree. Making it a stabbing makes it look even more random and takes the focus away from drugs. But part of the problem that we are seeing, in my opinion, is that it makes more sense as a drug case versus a sexual motivated stabbings. Who knows? I guess we'll find out in the trial. I don't know. If BK did it, I hope they have a solid evidence to prove it. If so, he should be justifiably put to death. Wait a minute. If BK did it, I hope they have solid evidence to prove it. If so, he should be justifiably put to death. Yeah. But God, you guys, at this point, it's like, seriously, it's like, sometimes some things will come across that I'll read and I'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. I'm like, oh, maybe, what? Maybe, what if? And then I just go right back to how this whole thing played out, that it was sketchy from the get-go. Like, nothing was done by the book. Not a thing that I can tell. And it's not stuff that are they're going to put behind closed doors and we're not going to, it's going to come out in the trial. No, these are things we actually saw and heard and they told us. It's all laid out right there. These are things they just flubbed over and just changed and flip-flopped. And man, just one thing after another. How do you trust something like that? Well, I don't. Ugh. What about the other questions I had? How do they factor into the drug cover-up? By the way, I'm not being an ass. I truly don't see it, but open to hearing you out. Corruption and conspiracies do happen. Well, I'm not saying there is a cover-up, but the actions of law enforcement and the prosecution have created an appearance that they are being less than transparent. But in trying to fill in the holes, for example, look for an explanation for the unexplained. I am having trouble seeing why they have been acting this way. If something is being covered up, you need to determine the why. What are the possible reasons for law enforcement and the prosecution to cover for something or someone? I can envision a cover-up to cover for a rogue cop or two. I can't envision covering it up for a hit put out on these kids. So what could be the reason? In my opinion, the only reason law enforcement would be covering up something is that they screwed something up. Yes, but what? That is the reason I presented the theory. Not because I actually believe it is what happened, I don't, but merely as a possibility to explain a lot of the oddities we are seeing in this case. They said it was a targeted attack and the public wasn't in danger. I didn't say that, the authorities did. The mayor comes out and said it was a crime of passion on day 1. His words based on info he was provided. So what was it about the crime scene that led them to say those things? I can understand keeping quiet before an arrest, but they have someone in custody that they say they are certain that he did this. So why not post a transcript of the 911 call? That has nothing to do with the gag order. You can do a FOIA request for it. So while the theory I presented is far-fetched, you're not really left with much else in trying to explain things, in my opinion. I agree totally. Occam's razor. There is no cover-up, but there is a guy who But there is a guy with an admitted personality dysfunction. Man, if everybody got thrown in jail for a admitted personality dysfunction, what the heck? Seriously, nobody would be free, because everybody's had some kind of dysfunction somewhere. Maybe not all would admit to it. Yeah, we got that point right there. But how do we know he admitted to it? This is only hearsay. Everything we know so far is hearsay. Yeah, you got the PCA. They're supposed to be on the up and up. They're supposed to be true. They're supposed to be accurate. But they even have spellings wrong. Eric Grower. Okay, on the first PCA, his name was totally redacted. His name wasn't even in there. So when the PCA came out for the Pennsylvania one, and I saw Eric Grower, it literally came out of my mouth like I yelled it out of my mouth. I'm like, his name's Gower, is what I said out loud to my, there's nobody around me, but I was like vocalizing it. And then I started popping it on comments, because I didn't have a channel then. So I started putting it in comment sections wherever I could, And then Chaos Sector, oddly enough, found that comment as they were going through stuff and looking for, how you, just like I do, I go through and try to find certain things, maybe something someone said, this or that, and they came across my comment and posted it on one of their channels, on one of their videos, which I thought was cool of them to do. But it was, you could see the date of it, and it was literally when it came out, and I just, I don't even remember where I posted it at. I have no clue, but thinking back to that, it's like, who does that? And they didn't just spell his name wrong once. It was like right in the next sentence, they did it again. So were they trying to cover up the Grower from Gower name? Was that another cover up? Is this someone they threw under the bus, or is this guy is this guy sus? Is this a guy who did it, or is it that Lenny or whatever supposedly someone hears in the Linda Lane stuff? I couldn't hear it at all. And I can't remember who said they could hear it, but it was a channel, and they're like, listen, you can hear it on there. Like, I can't hear a freaking thing. I could not hear them talk. I couldn't say his name, couldn't hear, I love you, see you later. I couldn't hear any of that. What I first thought is the person who took them home was Jack Katovich. That was what I heard from the beginning. And that would explain why I thought it was a blue car. I always thought it was a blue car. And like kind of that really bright, like midnight blue, like that, that really pretty color blue, kind of like the one that was parked there where the kids were on Banfield. But it was a prettier color, actually. And he does own one. He does have a car like that. But he also has, I think, a white Elantra, from what I understand. I can't be sure of that, but that's what I heard. But that's who I thought it was, Katovich. And so that brings back the whole thing with him driving and stuff, because it was said that that he doesn't drink, and that he would always drive. I mean, it was talked about over and over in all sorts of different chats. I don't know. And then it just disappeared. And then up came the Venmo from Molly, in between Molly and Liz Katovich. Jack's sister. 3:30 a.m. was the message in Venmo. Now you don't see if they're putting money back and forth. And I don't know if you can just leave a message without money. I don't know. But 3:30 seems a little odd, don't you think? I mean, don't you think? That's pretty damn odd. And then right then, that's right after, the Banfield thing. So in the Banfield thing, you got to think about the runners ran by at 3:12, right? Cops are there. That shows them stopping their body cam at 3:16, and then from then on, you don't see anything. But then the police reports come up, and at 3:34, I think it was, it shows on the police report, I think that's 3:34. Was it 3:34? They were at the Identity Apartments. That's when those, stopped those guys with that sign that they, had been carrying along the road for what unknown reason. That whole thing is so weird too. I mean, it's almost like it was all like planned, like it was a setup, like, okay, because they acted weird with it too. I mean, it didn't seem, I don't know, they were just kind of at ease with it, and they were joking with the cop, and I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird. And so, but in the police report, to what they're, where does it say that at? Oh, like on the first initial timeline, and that one girl, I can't remember what her name is, I have a little small video of it, and she got her timeline. Like, there's some people on there who are saying, that's not right, that's not what the timeline is. Well, yeah, that was what the timeline was. That was the first timeline. You got to remember, they've changed it multiple times. Many times. Not once, not twice. They've changed it a lot. And so that was the initial timeline. And so she's not, talking out her butt. She's reading it right from the police reports and from the family members and all that. It's all, right straight across. And their timeline on when they left Banfield, I believe, was like 3:34, like it was right around there. So they've got like 15-20 minutes they can't account for. And then you've got 3:30. So it would have made them there still at 3:30. Yet their body cam shut off at 3:16. And it says that they're in the police report, the 911 call that came in, or whatever call came in, I don't know if it was oh, you know what, I should look that up. Maybe it wasn't a 911 call, maybe it was just them driving, quote, I'm making quote fingers, and they saw the guys walking by with the sign. So it was a officer opened up a case or whatever, case into it. So it's like no one called 911, they just saw it, so they stopped them. Now I need to look that up. So, but still, their times don't match. Their times do not match, and neither do their body cams, because that's where I'm taking the information I've got from my own eyes, from the body cams that people have received, and that's what it says. The body cams, what are they changing? Can they change the time on body cam? Can they do that? And if they did do it, why would they do it like that? It puts them in the wrong, and they would change it to the actual time, I would think, not a time that was not, meshing with the other time. So none of it makes sense. It just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Oh my God. So yeah, so the guy who with an admitted personality dysfunction, visual snowpost, an interest in criminal acts, he's going to school. So does an interest in criminal acts? Get a load of this. So do all of those police officers out there that were walking the beat that night. They all went to school for this too. So are you saying that this is like they're in the same boat as Brian? I mean, what about this is not making sense? It's not making sense to people about how ridiculous this is. Sure, he's got an interest in criminal acts. He's going to school for it, just like those guys went to school for it. How can you put this person, Brian, in a different category as these people that are walking around with guns attached to their sides and also ushering covertly people across the street from the King Road house side to the frat house side, and then leaving them in cars, not to mention all the cars passing by that they don't even look up from their police reports or whatever they're doing to even give any attention to these cars that are going by. They don't even look up to recognize what's going on. That right there, you know how you're being sneaky and you don't want to look, you've been there before. I mean, no one can say they haven't. Oh, don't look down, don't look now, they're going to think I'm looking at them, don't look now. That kind of thing. That's what they were doing. That is nefarious. That something's wrong with that. That's something secret there. And how many times did they do it that night? My God, all the flashlights beaming at each other. They were communicating with their flashlights. Why were they looking in certain areas? Like if you put it in slow motion, you can see it. It's kind of hard to do it. You can still see it, but if you put it in slow motion, you can really see it. The way that they're looking around, and if they're being in a covert, operation or whatever they're doing, of course they're going to be like that. They're going to look and see what's going on because they know there's other people around. There's other people around. They need to make sure these people are in the spots they're supposed to be in, and make sure that what's going down is going down the way it's supposed to go down, and that everybody's doing their part and playing their role and following up on it, making it happen. Just like the beeps on the guy walking from, after putting whatever he put into the dumpster down Linda Lane, he walks around the dumpster up the back road to Linda Lane, which ends up in front of the cam that we'd all been watching from Linda Lane, crosses over into the Queen Road parking lot. Well, as he's walking up Linda Lane, he is on his phone notifying, guess who? Rosendahl, down where the kids just ran across. Rosendahl gets the beep. You can see him back and forth. Rosendahl gets the beep. He's happy about what he just heard. He's happy. He talks about, they got her. We can pick her up. You can see her, is what he told Tisdale. Tisdale, the first time all night, he cracked a smile. And then guess what? In my mind's eye, I was like, in fact, I said it out loud. I said, oh, looks like this ticket's done. You can rip that off and give it to him. As soon as I said that, what did he do? He ripped the ticket off. They were milking that. They were waiting. This is all a plan. This is all set up. It was all, God, it was weird. But it's like there's no way you cannot be not looked at that way. Because it's too much of a step-by-step thing that they did, and everything is notifications here. It's all timed. And guess what? There wasn't only those lights that were in that football field as they were facing that direction towards Linda Lane. There was also ones, if you go back and look, you'll notice them by Linda Lane too. You'll notice that they had lights over their spotlights. You'll miss them if you don't really look for them. You'll miss them. But they're there. That's how they were notifying. There's notifications with those beepers, with horns, with purple lights. And the purple light thing's been going on for a while. I mean, you can see all those in the noise complaints. You can see all of them in the noise complaints. You can see them turn on, like warning that the cops are here. I mean, the whole thing. I just get miffed when people say they don't see this stuff. And, maybe that's good for them. God help them. Maybe that's good for them. Because you know what? It's driven me a little bit crazy. No, not crazy, but you know what I mean. It's... Gotta take a drink. Hold on. Yum, that was good. That was really good. I don't like things too sweet. Like, I'm always mixing, like, that sparkling water, or whatever that stuff's called. It comes in the green bottle. I always forget the name. Pellegrino or whatever, the sparkling water. And I mix it in with other drinks because I don't like things, like, really strong. And that one was really good. I mixed perfectly. And then I add a bunch of lemon juice to it. And then I got these new things. What are they called? They're called Beauty BTY Vost, and they are biotin supplements. Biotin supports hair, skin, and nails, collagen and vitamin E, strawberry kiwi flavor, and it's like one of those effervescent little tabs that you put in drinks and stuff. That it's like like the bath things that fizz up, and they're really good. It's the first one I've actually liked, and I've tried a lot of them, and this is the first one I've liked because it's not too sweet. That's what I like about it. It's just perfect. So that's also mixed in there. So I got a nice little, bunch of stuff. Okay. Now that I can shut up now, right? Should I keep talking? We're at 32 minutes. Let me see how long this thing is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's one. Okay, so where was I? There we go. So, that is a lot of work to involve so many people in the cover-up. I understand you are just theorizing. However, this seems so far-fetched. You should pitch this idea to a movie studio. Sounds like it would be a great movie. We will soon see enough we will see soon enough what this case is all about. And I am willing to bet there are some surprise bombshell revelations we weren't expecting. Time will tell. Until then, be well, friend. I'd like to say that to Blue. That yes, there will be some bombshells that you might not have expected. You need one more voting option. So crazy it makes no sense, and this is completely stupid. Yeah, well, so is your name. The Tom Man. This is actually ridiculous. Even if the part of your story stood, you don't think they'd pass it off as a big bad batch of drugs the kids had bought. Maybe set up a known drug dealer. They'd actually go in and mutilate bodies, set up a crime scene, and get many hundreds of people on board to make the cover-up and all in the spotlight. Make the cover-up work and all in the spotlight. That's sometimes how these people write. It's like so hard to read. Probably hard for you guys to understand too. Oh yay, the one that I like to read. Okay, I agree, but at the same time, if it was declared that this was OD death from the get-go, the entire operation would cease. Maybe that was an unacceptable outcome. Again, I didn't say I think this is what happened, but the actions and comments from the authorities have muddled what should be a relatively routine case. They don't make sense. On day one, they said this was a targeted attack and that there was no threat to the public. They obviously based that statement on what they observed at the crime scene. And might I add into this a little bit right here? Why wasn't Hunter Chapin and Maisie Chapin afraid to go back to that school and back to the same sorority where, Ethan was a member of? Why weren't they afraid? Not because BK was locked up. In my opinion, this was a targeted attack. And I think they know exactly what happened, in my opinion. I think they all do. Not the whole school. I mean, this person's saying hundreds. I don't think that many, but there was quite a few. And I think they all maybe knew maybe of something happening, but not exactly what happened. But this wasn't the beginning of this, and this certainly isn't the end of this, as we've seen. Correct? So, said there was no threat to the public. They obviously based that statement on what they observed at the crime scene. So if their guy is in custody, what harm can be done by leaking that info? If you look at this case objectively based on the information that has been made public, DM is more of a suspect than BK, in my opinion, which is absolutely true. But I don't know why we aren't bringing up BF, because she also is. In fact, here's the thing. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was saying that people that are quiet, that the quiet ones, watch out for the quiet ones. And I've always heard that, and it has always come true. Watch out for the quiet ones. They're the ones you got to watch out for. And those are the BFs. Now, in part of the Linda Lane footage, and it's disturbing to listen to, and it's very it's one of the parts that's actually the clearest part in the Linda Lane footage, and it's in between 1 and 2 o'clock, and you hear like this girl come out screaming, and you hear a guy yelling, and she's like screaming like she's like freaked out, right? And at one point you can hear them, it sounds like they're both throwing up. But he says, "Stop, Beth." He says, "Stop, Beth." And he doesn't say it once, he says it a couple different times. And it's quite clear. And she calls him Zach. Well, guess who Bethany is with all those pictures right now? She's with the guy named Zachary. And they're getting married, allegedly. Allegedly, they're engaged. So you know what that tells me, if that's the case? That they won't have to testify against each other, being husband and wife. So there's another one to chew on. Oh my goodness, this is just crazy, isn't it, you guys? It's so crazy, it just makes me want to rip my hair out sometimes. Well, pull on it hard, I don't want to rip it out, but pulling on your hair hard, actually, if you do it right, it's actually really good for you, too. It actually gets all the blood vessels and stuff working up in your scalp. It's really, really quite good for you. It can also straighten your spine out if you do it right. So okay, so what about any of this is routine? Serious question. Why would you think 4 students in a house of 6 stabbed to death in a sleepy college town is routine or normal? And are you asking why can't the prosecution just leak info? Because it's illegal. If they are shown leaking information on a gagged case, this trial could be thrown out due to prejudice. That is the dumbest idea a prosecutor could have. The only opinion that matters is that of the jury and judge, not the public opinion. Any prosecutor knows this. You know what would be interesting? If the people who don't realize or have not read or delved into a handful of cases, I mean, and just we'll just like throw out some cases and literally just pick them out of there, and you're going to find some really crazy stuff, and you're going to find some scary stuff. If you were these people were one of those people that this happened to in one of these cases, they'd be changing their tunes. Because nothing's on the up and up over there. It's their own freaking country. They do what they want. And they've got the backing for it. You know, I bet that church, I bet they're all in it together. And I bet they just play off each other and to make it look like it's not. I mean, there's something going, there has to be. First of all, why would someone on the force who's been with the church from the get-go, from the time he was born, why would he be an officer at the MPD? And why would he have been hired right in the middle of when Stickergate was going on? The whole thing with the Wilsons kids and then the Brady Giglio and all that kind of stuff. Why would they hire a guy that's his life? He grew up in the church. His family's still there. He's still there. That makes no sense. And he was pretty new to the case when all this happened, and guess what? He's one of them guys in Banfield. Oh yeah, he is. The one with the flashlight, you know? Want to make sure the kids got across the street okay, or whoever was running, you know, frying the kids. Possibly Payne, he was one of the short ones. You saw him. He didn't even have to duck. He just kind of ran by. Everybody else was kind of ducking down. Not Payne. He went... Why would that be? And you know, I'll bet you anything too, that church has a arsenal. Oh my God. You know they do. You know they have an arsenal. And it's probably underground. And if you don't think that church is rich and they aren't capable of something like that, whew, man, then you better seriously think about that one, because that one's, I mean, I don't even like talking about the church. I don't. I try to stay away from it because that's how it's scary. It's scary to me. It's very scary to me. And and that prosecutor, man, that weird guy, that guy just gives me he just looks like a guy on the movie Deliverance. I mean, he looks like he's like the one in the freaking rocking chair with the banjo. I mean, spitting image of him. Pull out a few teeth and he'd be good to go. He looked just like him. Jeez. And you just see him in a rocking chair with a basset hound at his feet and a bottle of moonshine hanging, you know, with his thumb stuck through the little round handle there, hanging upside the chair, spitting in the chewing, ping, hitting the can. I can see it. I can totally see it. Have you seen him when he's like just all rough and not, you know, done his hair and whatever, that creepy looking hair? Come on, dude. Sorry, I had to put some chapstick on. Up. Much better. Yeah, any prosecutor knows this. Sure they do. Sure they do. Leaks happen all the time in instances where they shouldn't, or it's illegal. Happens a ton. Okay, so your argument is for the prosecution to act illegally? Got it. It should be routine when you have a murder such as this and someone is left unharmed, in this case 2 people. The people who are unharmed are immediately suspects. Immediately. That's the way it is. They get, you know, and I agree with this person. In addition, you have a situation where one of the murdered victims just broke up with her boyfriend of 5 years and was moving away. He immediately becomes a suspect. Not only that, but she's taken his dog too. And she's got a new vehicle and she looks hot. And she's got a heck of a good job, right? Yeah. Plus the police say it was targeted and there's no threat to the public, which means there had to be evidence that the victims knew the killer. So in a case where the victims are known to the killer, most detectives will tell you that the motive was either money, jealousy, or rage. Based on the comments by law enforcement on day one, that's what led me to think it was relatively straightforward and routine. You know, this person could be me actually writing this. That's how this feels. I mean, I can read their stuff just like it was me. So once they investigate, interview, and interrogate the ex-boyfriend, which they did, well, how do you know, Anteater? And finally, how do you know? No one's really even said that. I think the only person that actually said that was the Goncalveses, right? So once they do that, which they did, and finally conclude that it's not him, then what? What is the next step in the routine? Well, here's the thing. Okay, now if you've gone in, it's this person. Let me talk to you, Anteater, face to face here, face to phone. The people that are, any of the frat people, any of the people around the area, the people in the apartments surrounding that area, you name it, you talk to them and you ask them, did law enforcement come over and ask you any questions, what you saw or what you didn't see, for any tapes, for anything? And you know what they will say? They will say no. Same with the frat guys. They're offering information and they don't want it. Why? Why? So what makes you think they interviewed and interrogated the ex-Jack, which they did? What makes you think that actually happened? They probably just gave him a call and said his dog. Well, and that's not even probably true either. I mean, if you listen to the police reports, if you read the police reports and things I posted, you'd see that nothing about this case is routine. Well, they interviewed and cleared him within the first couple of days. According to their own press releases, they interviewed well over 100 other people after clearing him. So they just talked to him once and never again? Really? What if you got info in those other interviews that would call into question info he proved that cleared him? They moved on from people very early on before there was any way possible to collaborate anything they said. JS supposedly hightailed it to Africa and has disappeared. I guess that is irrelevant. In my opinion, nobody should have been cleared officially until an arrest had been made or you determined the investigation to be complete. I agree with that. And I kind of think, I don't think Jack, in my opinion, JS, I don't think he went to Africa. I think he went to the, under the little wings of Eco Shield down in California, or off to Puerto Rico or wherever they were at the time. Anteater. Okay. He has an alibi. One that is collaborated by multiple people. Oh yeah, Anteater, guess what? He had 3 alibis. He sure did. First he was home sleeping. That was his first one. And then he was playing video games with his buddies, Adam, his roommate, allegedly. That's what he said. And another friend. Well, guess what, Anteater? Did you see the picture of him at the corner club? Yeah, that one. That's 3. 1, 2, 3. So he has 3 alibis. One that all of them collaborated by multiple people. There's your multiple people also lying, because if they're collaborating these things, then it means they're lying, because that's not what happened. They didn't clear him until the 2nd week. The Goncalves family also said that JD had been interrogated multiple times and very thoroughly, as well as they questioned him themselves. LOL, the Africa rumor. JD's alibi was that he was home playing video games with his roommates and his friends, yet there is a picture of him and his roommate at the corner club at 1:30. What's funny about the Africa rumor? Bottom line, he didn't come back to campus and hasn't been heard from. The Goncalves family also stated they thought people had been cleared too early. I was just using JD as an example. Hoodie guy cleared within a few days. Roommates within a few days. BF within a few days, etc. Also, why did the police issue a bolo for a 2013 white Elantra on the date after Wazoo police found BK's car? Exactly. They knew he drove a 2015. So what was the reason for that? The difference between the 213 and the 15. What was that reason? I can't think of one that makes any sense. He left the area on December 15th, I think, and they were following him to PA at that time. Based on what? And then you got to think about this. Then the Kopaka thing happens, right? I'm just putting that in there. I don't know what happened. My theory got shot to hell earlier on. If you are doing a thorough investigation, you look at everything. I merely proposed a theory that tries to fill in holes. I certainly hope they have more on BK than we know, and that is a solid. I wish the prosecution were more transparent. The motions filed by the defense seem to indicate they haven't been. Yeah, for sure. In a death penalty case, this is concerning. The actions of the surviving roommates makes no sense, which is concerning. Also that they, voted on the freaking new, the firing squad after during this whole thing. Or, was it for him alone? Was it for BK? What a weird timing thing, huh? Or was it? In death penalty cases, this is concerning. The actions of the surviving roommates makes no sense, which is concerning. I would really like to see the autopsy. What kind of knife was used? Was it one knife? If it was one, were the cuts different due to the dulling of the blade, which might indicate the order of the killings? Was a toxicology screening done? Was anything found under the fingernails of the victims? Exactly. They said that their hands were preserved, right? You know what that means, you guys. I'm not going to go into what that means, but basically they put plastic bags over them and they keep them off the bodies. So many questions. Ooh, we're getting right up there to an hour here, you guys. So I'm going to have to cut this one short, or not short. I'm going to have to cut this one long. Let me see how long this one is. Yeah. Darn it. Okay. Bola was released a week prior to law enforcement only and surrounding areas law enforcement before they went public on it. I don't imagine they were able to instantly check every tip that came in from the Bolo. I'm sure they were backlogged on tips, just as they had stated in press conferences. Oh yeah, they had how many people they interviewed? Bull crap. That was a lie. Because you think about how many people they said they interviewed and how many people are in that town, and then you go cross-reference that with the people that said they never interviewed them, they never even came around, we never even saw them. How about the people that actually brought in seriously good tips and were never contacted by the police until they contacted them again? They went back again to contact them to give them this information. The police didn't come back. They didn't care. How about the black jacket, you guys, by the fire hydrant? Why would they just throw that jacket back down behind there when that was the area where all this was happening? What the heck were they thinking? Is their brain on freaking ramen noodles or what? Because there's nothing going on in there but a bunch of twisty shit. Nothing. Blah. No seasoning, just blah. Jeez. I'm sure they were backlogged on tips. Yeah, whatever. Just as they had stated in press conferences. Do I have to go into what they also stated in press conferences? I think not. So although the tip came in on X date, doesn't mean it was thoroughly investigated on X date. It could have been checked out days later or prior. Yes, the JD's friends collaborate that they went to CC and then went to his house and they were playing video games. That's not how it was said, dude. Or dudette, I don't know. Some of the friends at the house were not at CC, but present when he arrived home. When did we hear he arrived home? I don't remember hearing anything about that. Lots of students didn't return. I know I wouldn't if I was being harassed by for being a murder suspect. Can you really blame JS? Not Africa, though. Case is under a gag. Patience, and it will all come out during the trial. Peggy Olson. What do you mean Hoodie Guy hasn't been heard from? He's a private citizen, just like living his life. Hey Peggy, how are you? How are you, Peggy? All right, we're going to leave that at that. It's 54, almost 55 minutes. So I will come back and make another one. And we'll start with Unsuitable Ghoul. Kind of an interesting name. I like that. Okay. Thanks for listening, and can't wait to read your comments. You guys, lots of good ones in the last one, so looking forward to it. Okay, thanks for listening. Have a great day.